Alrighty everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be looking at a build for the Stasis Hunter. Now this build comes as a request from Mandoderechte. Don't know if I'm saying that right. He wants a hunter build where he can use forbearance in Gambit. I don't know why, but here it is. Now as always, we're going to start out with our abilities. First up, we have our super, Silence and Squall. Now this is a one-off super that will slow, freeze, and shatter targets that stay within the super's damage radius. Now this is great as a one-off super for clearing out adds or some extra boss damage. For a dodge, we're using Marksman's Dodge for a shorter cooldown, and to reload your currently equipped weapon, you have your choice of jump, and our melee, Withering Blade. Now Withering Blade is a great hunter melee because it gives you 2 melee charges that slow targets on impact. Slow will stun overload champions, and with enough stacks of slow, a target will become frozen, but you can then shatter them to stun an unstoppable champion. And for our grenade, we're using Glacier Grenade. This creates a wall of 5 stasis crystals on impact that will freeze targets. The wall can also be shattered to stun unstoppable champions as well as other effects to come later. But for our aspects, we're going to start out with Grim Harvest. Defeating slowed or frozen targets creates stasis shards. These shards grant melee energy when picked up by you or your allies. While Grim Harvest is equipped, picking up stasis shards grants stacks of frost armor. So, stasis shards, when picked up, grant melee energy, and because of this aspect, will also grant frost armor. Now, frost armor is the answer Stasis has for a source of damage resistance after the rework released with the final shape. So this will be great as damage resistance is always useful in our builds. And next up, we're using Winter's Shroud. Dodging slows nearby targets. Slowing targets briefly increases your class ability regeneration. So, as we know, slow will stun overload champions, so this is great as a panic way of stunning overloads that get too close. Now, any source of slow will also increase your class ability regeneration, which is what we want because of our exotic. But for now, let's go to our fragments. Starting out with Whisper of Fissures. Increases the damage and size of the burst of stasis when you destroy a stasis crystal or defeat a frozen target. So this is a great general fragment as now all of our shatter damage will have a larger effective radius and deal increased damage to targets. Next up, Whisper of Refraction. Defeating slowed or frozen targets grants you class ability energy. So, as previously stated, because of our exotic, we want our class ability up as much as possible. So getting some energy back when defeating slowed or frozen targets will now contribute to this. Next up, Whisper of Shards. Shattering a stasis crystal temporarily boosts your grenade recharge rate. Shattering additional stasis crystals increases the duration of this benefit. So, our grenade is another important part of our build. So shattering any stasis crystal will now boost the recharge rate of our grenades. Shattering our glacial grenade will also count towards this recharge rate. Next up, Whisper of Torment. You gain grenade energy each time you take damage from targets. Having frost armor increases the amount of grenade energy gained. Here we have another fragment boosting our grenade recharge rate. Now I know that taking damage is not something we want to have happen, but given how it's inevitably going to occur in regular gameplay, why not get some bonus grenade energy out of it? Especially when we have frost armor active, giving us additional grenade energy. However, this does take away -10 from our discipline stat. And rounding it out, we have Whisper of Conduction. Nearby stasis shards track to your position. So, pretty simple, but useful for quality of life, as stasis shards collected will grant melee energy and stacks of frost armor. The mod also gives a generous +10 to both your resilience stat and your intellect stat. Now let's move over to our exotic, starting out with Salvation's Grip. Yes, another obscure exotic. Our intrinsic, Cryo Cannon, reads, press and hold the shoot button to charge up a projectile, released to fire. This weapon's charged projectiles create a pattern of stasis crystals on impact and freeze nearby targets. Our trait, Scattershot, reads, this weapon's uncharged projectiles deal bonus damage to stasis crystals and frozen targets. Rapidly destroying multiple stasis crystals reloads this weapon from reserves. So, I didn't even know this weapon could fire an uncharged shot, but the ability to shoot out a volley of crystals on impact will allow us to shatter them to gain bonus grenade energy and stun unstoppable champions. The uncharged shot can also be useful after throwing your super on a boss for some bonus damage. Now what I really like about this exotic is the volley of stasis crystals, which we can then shatter to deal damage to targets caught in its radius. Next up, Mask of Bacchus. Our trait, Light Shift, reads, while you have a stasis super equipped, your dodge becomes a longer range faster moving shift that partially cloaks you during use. After shifting, your stasis and arc weapons deal increased damage for a short time. Alrighty, so the backwards dodge is pretty fun, but the damage bonus to our weapons after our dodge is equivalent to 4 surge mods for 10 seconds, which is a 25% increase in damage. Unfortunately, during this time, you will not regenerate any class ability energy, so this basically adds 10 seconds onto whatever your cooldown already is. But why are we wanting to buff our arc and stasis weapons? And what are we using to shatter our stasis crystals? Forbearance. You could use the Vow version or the Brave version, but here I have the Brave version for Demolitionist. So basically, you shoot the wave at stasis crystals and they will instantly shatter. And as for our primary, we want something that can also take advantage of this buff from our exotic helmet, and that's going to be Bold Endings. Now this is a great primary as it can roll with Headstone and Demolitionist, giving us more stasis crystal generation and more grenade ability regeneration. As for our seasonal mods, some ones you're going to want to be looking out for are Creeping Chill. This will allow our stasis weapon final blows to emit a slowing burst when defeating a slowed or frozen target. Shield Crush for some melee bonuses while you have Frost Armor active, and Elemental Siphon for stasis shards to spawn when defeating a target with a stasis weapon final blow. As for our armor mods, really you just want things to improve the general quality of the build, so Harmonic Siphons, Harmonic Loaders, and a Stasis Surge are all things I recommend to help you out. And so, for our gameplay loop, we want to open with throwing a Stasis Wall or a Salvation's Grip Shot right on top of the target. You then swap to your Forbearance and shoot a wave going through the crystals, shattering them and damaging nearby targets. Shattering these crystals will give you an improved grenade cooldown, and defeating any targets that are frozen by the crystals in the Shattering Explosion will spawn a Stasis Shard that will track to you, giving you melee energy and frost armor. You can use your Mask of Bacchus helmet to be very mobile and give you an additional 25% more damage when attacking targets with stasis or arc weapons. Defeating slowed or frozen targets will grant you class ability energy. And if you're ever out of grenade energy, swap to your primary weapon with Demolitionist to get it back. So that was the build, but as always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any build ideas that you want to see featured in a future video, make sure to leave them down in the comments down below. But with all that out of the way, let's go right to the showcase. Alrighty. Haven't been here forever. Alrighty. Let's see what this build can do. I have not been on this map in ages. Alright, so tip about these maps, use these portals to help you get around. Oh, I should have grabbed that power though. You always want to grab power when you have an exotic power weapon. Or just in general when you're playing games. This is a nice little change of pace though. Well, this. Okay, about half. He wasn't centered on, so. Yep, that's a good freeze right there. Boom. And you've got an extra 5 for me. Whoa, chill there, chill. Swoop in with that little dodge shift and snatch it up. Oh, now they decide to invade. Naturally, I want to drop everything I'm doing and find this invader. Ow! Found him. We got our prime evil. Give me that heavy. The wizard's over here. Wasn't far enough ahead. We killed each other, so I'll take it. Thanks for the nade energy. Use it on the boss. My teammate died behind me, it looks like. We got some pretty good invades right now. Yep. Thank goodness. And that's the Gambit win. Let's go. And that was the build. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you next time. Stay alrighty.